It would stiffen the resolve of some Labour MPs, you would have thought. There's one Machiavellian theory about that the Tories briefed that so that the question of the 70,000 bogus battalions, as one Tory MP called it, wouldn't be examined, that the debate would centre on the Cameron insult.
Oh, they're not that clever.
Well,
They deliberately make two enormous howlers thinking, oh, the lesser one will get all the attention.
Right, and the 70,000 claim was challenged by lots of MPs, obviously, including SNP's Angus Robertson. I've got it. He is very impressive, isn't he?
He is.
Angus Robertson, he's a leader, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Angus Robertson. You were there on Wednesday, because obviously the previous debate on the 26th of November, you had to miss that, didn't you? Because you were unveiling a portrait.
But incidentally, raised 50,000 quid for charity. It was a good portrait.
I hate to feel bad now. It was for charity.
What are you doing to that sofa? Did you see there was a Scottish Labour source who said if Alex Salmond was a chocolate, he'd eat himself? there was a boy at my school who could do that. How has Jeremy Corbyn's week gone?
At first, I think he tried to argue to get the Labour parties to vote against, have a whip sort of vote, but then, as somebody pointed out, really, when it comes to matters of conscience, it must be really whether you're sending people to war or not, it has to be a free vote. So that's basically how it turned out. So he didn't get the Labour MPs behind him necessarily, and Hilary Benn made a very good speech, and some people are saying, oh, well, Hilary Benn might be a bit of a contrast to Jeremy Corbyn, maybe about a leadership election sometime, rivalry, maybe in a year or so. How much do you want?
Yeah, that's good. You've summed it up entirely. But you've had a bit of a run-in with Hilary, haven't you?
I was doing a contrast between Tony Benn, who made some incredibly powerful anti-war speeches in the House of Commons, and Hilary Benn, who made a pro-war speech on behalf of the Tory Prime Minister. And I merely said that I thought his father would be bullying in his grave. Now, Scottish idiom, it means a deceased person would be surprised at that turn of events. And I have to say, I think that Tony Benn would be fair astonished.
Presumably, this isn't a new standpoint for Hilary. Like, so presumably they would have known each other for quite a long time. Just judging from my own life and parenting.
Yeah, to have sort of people running around saying Ben, Tory scum, is new.
Yeah.
Really, isn't it? I mean, it's a turnaround.
That bit wasn't me,
No, I'm just paraphrasing you.
No, that's...
Who are the two gangs in the Labour rivalry?
They're called Momentum, which is the Corbynite one, and Progress, which is the other.
Like it's The Apprentice. Oh my God, they've given themselves stupid names.
But there's a serious side to this. The divisions in the Labour Party gave Cameron a much easier time on Wednesday than he should have had, because much of the debate was actually focused about the internal battles in the Labour Party, whereas it should have been focused on dismantling what was a threadbare case for bombing in Syria.
According to one embattled Labour MP, every day is like opening an advent calendar of shit. What did one of Corbyn's most loyal supporters, Diane Abbott, do in a shadow cabinet meeting?
Light an advent candle?
A bit dangerous. According to the Sunday Times, Diane Abbott tried to do an impression of shadow education spokesperson Lucy Powell. One source told the Sunday Times she's no Mike Yarwood. The performance was so dire that Corbyn loyalist John Cryer considered voting for bombing just on the basis of her contribution. But before the debate got going properly, what did the Conservatives stick the boot into?
Jeremy Corbyn?
Before the debate got going.
Jeremy Corbyn?
Just before, it was the BBC.
The Conservatives were arguing that we should now, after we call ISIS Daesh, which I think we should, because that's the mocking acronym that's used in the Arabic world. But there, of course, some Conservatives are so want to attack the BBC that it's not enough just to say, well, we should all be calling it Daesh. It's to say, and the BBC are not calling it Daesh yet, which proves that the BBC is a conspiracy.
And terrorist sympathisers.
Terrorist sympathisers, almost as bad as...
Because the BBC, rigidly, they call it so-called Islamic State, don't they?
Really confusing for old people if they keep just changing the name all the time, and isn't that why they're...
Yeah, that's what they say about biscuits, though.
Do they keep changing biscuits all the time?
All the time.
Bastards. And Daesh don't like being called Daesh at all, do they?
So that's why people think that we should be, like that's going to hurt their feelings.
Yeah. Are we saying it right? It's Daesh. Daesh. So it's kind of like what Sean Connery plays backgammon with.
Yeah, sure, well,
Daesh. Just to cheer us up, let's have a look at some slightly better international news.
This is for match point, I think. Look at that long. Look at that. Yeah, brilliant.
A British team winning the Davis Cup for the first time since 1936. That's a great triumph for British sport, isn't it?
Yeah. Obviously, I think...
It was Andy Murray and Jamie Murray and Andy and Jamie and... So basically Dunblane won the Davis Cup.
Yes, a British win then.
This is the news that Britain is now at war, just a few hundred yards across from where we were already at war. Leading Labour's pro-bombing faction was Hilary Benn, whose father Tony was president of the Stop the War Coalition. Just goes to show, if you call your son Hilary, he will reject everything you stand for. Ian and Sarah, take a look at this.
I think that's Conservative headquarters.
Oh, I see.
There's some young Tories,
I see. Oh,
aged about 50.
I've got a lanyard. Oh.
Oh,
Which one's the one that you swipe if you don't like them on Tinder? You're asking the wrong person.
yeah. It's just Grindr for me.
They had a horrible situation where a young member of their party committed suicide, which was terribly sad. But then now, afterwards, everyone's blaming everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah,
So this
yeah.
is the Young Conservatives who
Young
have
Conservatives.
been revealed as being ghastly, which is a huge shock to everyone, you can imagine. Because obviously everybody thought they were nice, moderate, well-balanced young men. And
Women. And women.
But it's mostly the men who are doing the bullying.
But who is at the centre of this controversy?
It's a man called Clark.
Yes.
And
Clark.
Mark Clark,
Yes, there are claims that he'd blackmailed ministers,
Yeah.
he'd sexually harassed his sort of co-workers.
Yeah.
I mean, allegedly, I have to point out, Mark Clark has denied all these allegations. What's the name that they're all going by, these young Tories? There's a...
Oh, Tatler Tories.
In fact, do you know why?
the Tatler predicted that this man Clark would one day be in the cabinet.
That's right, there was
And
an
the
article.
Tatler's well known for spotting political leaders.
Now, stupid. What is the Tatler?
It's a magazine
magazine.
for knobs.
They had an article in 2008, and they picked out 10 young Tories who they reckoned were tipped for greatness. Here we've got a photograph of Mark Clark. There he is, that's him second from the left.
Is the woman standing in front of him, is she saying to him, will you please stop pumping air up my sleeve? She doesn't know what he's doing it with, but she knows it's happening.
If she's actually just got a really, really fat lower arm, you're going to feel awful.
Is her dad Popeye? She's got an anchor on there. Is her dad Popeye? It'll be on the notes. If her dad is
I don't
Popeye, it'll be on the
know,
notes.
it doesn't say.
It can't be a dad, can't be a dad.
Oh, Camilla the Sailor Man, you're absolutely right. What was Mark Clark doing? What's his official role?
He organised these road trips
That's right.
of volunteers to drum up support for the Tory party.
Exactly.
The trouble about young Tory politics is so low level. It's literally young men going around saying, you will never work on the back desk of the Assistant Conservative Research Department ever again. And everyone goes, ooh, no. So they go very camp when they're They fighting. are.
One of Clark's techniques is a thing called IIP. Does anyone know what that is?
Intimidate, interrogate, party.
Oh.
Have fun at the end of the day.
If only it was that. It's his technique for using alcohol to lure women.
You're joking.
And he calls it isolate, inebriate, and penetrate.
God! Oh, God! Doesn't Theresa May stop those people coming into the country now? Don't we have rules on there?
Former Tory co-chairman Grant Shapps has had to resign. Why particularly did he have to resign?
Well, he was supposedly in charge of these young people not bullying each other. And there have been calls for Lord Feldman
Exactly.
to resign.
But Grant Shapps had ignored repeated allegations.
And he was on the coach with them, was he?
Well, he appointed him in
Driving RSC.
2014, I think, to run these road trips. But he'd ignored all these allegations that had been presented to him. There's been an inquiry. What was wrong with that?
Well, they were going to have an inquiry led by Lord Feldman. And given that he was meant to be inquiring into himself. Anything wrong, old boy? No, nothing at all. That didn't go very far.
But it should be okay because the brilliantly named Lord Panic has been put in charge. I did not even comes in his robes. Okay, and finally, on the subject of political activists, who'd like to see an Irish government minister being questioned by an activist in Dublin?
Yes,
this
please.
week? This was Andy Whelan from the Revolutionary Republic News questioning Irish Trade Minister Joe Costello over water charges.
Just ignore what they say and just keep on walking.
Let's see it again. Yes, this is the bullying scandal involving Mark Clark, the Tatler Tory. After his behaviour during the 2010 election campaign, a lengthy dossier compiled for Tory HQ said of Mark Clark, he didn't seem to know the difference between right and wrong, with a note in the margin adding, future cabinet minister? Question mark. One of Mark Clark's colleagues on the 2015 road trip campaign was the recently ennobled Baroness Emma Pidding. Emma Pidding. I wonder if she's one of the Yorkshire Piddings. And so to round two, the strengthometer of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the first one.
Oh, brains.
Yes,
Men and
buzzer.
women's brains.
Yes.
Buzzer.
Oh, buzzers.
Ian and Sarah.
Brains. Wait, men and women's brains.
Yes.
Men and women all have brains, and so there's this.
I was just thinking that your brain didn't think about pressing the buzzer and his did, which is very annoying.
Yes, but my brain did get it right.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, this is the story that says that men and women's brains.
Brains are essentially the same. So women are from Mars and men are from Venus, whatever it was. That was just a book.
Yep.
Not true at all.
But
The only difference is that men can understand buzzers quicker than women. Only one. And it's very tiny. It's a tiny man.
According to Mail, scientists analysed brain scans of more than 1,400 men and women and found that while the odd person will have an all-male Mars or all-female Venus brain, the majority will have one somewhere between the two. In other words, most brains are intersex.
What is a male brain and what is a female brain? How is that?
So that's the thing. Another thing that's quite sexist is that they will say spatial and reasoning male brain. So even the way that they treat brains is very sexist. There's an amazing book called The Gender Delusion, which is all about sexism in brain studies, and it's brilliant. And what is most prevalent is that they often do these studies, find no results, and they're not published. So for every one that's in the Daily Mail, there's 100 that found no difference.
Well, they said there's largely no difference. Professor Joel, who's the author of the study, according to Professor Joel, the study did show that if you looked at a brain, you could predict better than evens what the sex of the person would be. But it is much easier to look at the gender.
The other interesting thing is actually now with gender, genitals isn't a sign of someone's gender anymore either. So actually, I think this Dr. Joel's an idiot. And I know he's got a very good qualification, and I can't use buzzers, but
I think
stand by
she's a
it.
female doctor. You've
Oh,
just
I was
fallen
so
into
sick.
this.
Yeah, you are.
In other news, what facial feature might make men more sexist?
It's going to be something to do with facial hair and testosterone.
It's a beard. An Australian study this week found that men with facial hair were more likely to show signs of macho behaviour and a tendency to degrade women.
There was this other theory earlier this year where people said that more men were growing beards in a response to women wanting more power. So that they were asserting, oh, look what I can grow.
When they were...
I don't see much evidence here.
These people are not cool, trendy people. I said it in a jokey way. You know what I meant.
Right, let's get her.
When the
Not
Daily
cool
Star-
and trendy.
What fashion trend might help soften the macho bravado of these chauvinists this time of year?
The man bun. The what?
The man...
The man bun. What is the man bun? I didn't wear mine tonight. Didn't you?
It's when men have quite a lot of long hair,
Yes.
but they wear it up. Actually, very similar to this.
It's like that. I see.
But on
And you
man.
didn't wear yours tonight, Ian? I didn't, no. Because I didn't want to, make the audience feel uncool and trendy.
Let's move on from that statement. Let's got
The must-have accessory for this Christmas is glitter beards.
Glitter beards.
Yeah. This is a scientific study that has discovered there are no real differences between male and female brains. According to the Daily Mail, the male brain tends to withstand pain better than the female brain. Yes, I remember when my wife was giving birth and she squeezed my hand so tightly, I didn't say a word. Right, fingers on buzzers, teams. Yes.
Golfers are getting confused. Because Brussels sprouts have become genetically engineered to be exactly the same weight and size as a golf ball. It's super sprouts.
It is super sprouts.
It is super sprouts. Super sprouts.
Yes.
Nobody knows how to control them.
Especially
a
getting
sprout like
bigger.
that could take over the world.
They're getting... Exactly. These are monster sprouts.
Monster sprouts on the mic. They grow legs, we're in trouble.
Why are they so big?
Because they're massive. They're great big buggers. They don't care who knows it. They were bitten by a radioactive tortoise and they've grown hugely.
Or just a warm August.
A warm August,
yeah.
the most deadly of all foes.
Who is this bad news for? Obviously.
Little sprouts. The runner bean's done a runner. Come out of here. Who's it bad news for?
For children, obviously.
Why is it bad news for
They
children?
don't like sprouts.
Well, you don't have to eat them then.
Well, no, also because these
This is more
abnormally
than-
large sprouts,
Yeah.
they'll measure 40 millimetres wide,
Yeah.
45 millimetres long,
Yes.
which is larger than the average child's mouth.
Well, you could cut them up. Yeah.
I've got a sprout comparison chart here to make things a bit clearer. There we are.
Okay.
They're monsters. What do we have to thank?
Global warming.
Global warming. According to The Independent, experts say the unusually warm weather this autumn had seen sprouts grow an extra 20% larger. Speaking of climate change,
Yes.
how have world leaders been tackling the issue?
In Paris.
They have indeed. They're going to limit global warming if they can to 2 degrees centigrade this century. So it's pretty much all all sorted. That's great. Who was representing Britain there? Who was helping to represent Britain, I should say?
David Cameron and Prince Charles.
Prince Charles, yeah.
They were both there.
Here's Prince Charles showing how passionate he is on the issue.
I'm going to write you a letter if you're not careful.
Jon Snow cancelled a meeting with Prince Charles at the conference. What was the reason for that?
Prince Charles had a 15-page memorandum which he hands to the broadcaster, the things you can and cannot do, you cannot and can't ask them about. And they said, well, in that circumstance, we won't interview you then.
Absolutely right. So Channel 4 described it as North Korea-style control methods by Clarence House.
Yeah, it's a list of questions they couldn't ask. Are you looking forward to anyone dying?
And the Sun mocked up Charles as King Jong-un. Who had a heartwarming historic handshake at the conference?
Heartwarming historic.
There was the Israeli and Palestinian leaders. So Netanyahu and Abbas shared a handshake. What soured the moment?
Occupation of Palestine?
No, just as the historic moment was happening, the president of Comoros, Iklulu Dawanini, got in the way of the camera, so the only official photograph of the historic handshake looks like this. Time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. Farmer Ben Fletcher's sweet potato, Geminoid F, Kellogg's cornflakes, and John Prescott's office.
Yeah, I think this is about sex, basically.
About sex?
Yeah, because Geminoid F is a sex robot. I've heard, I've been told that. I read somewhere, I saw it on television, something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
Farmer Ben Fletcher's, he's the farmer who keeps unearthing sensuous potatoes.
Sensuous potatoes?
Sensuously shaped
Your knowledge
potatoes.
about this is disturbingly thorough.
And I think the office is where John Prescott had sex.
Yeah, with that lampshade. Temple.
With a lampshade. With a lampshade. And it was revealed that Kellogg, the originator of cornflakes, was anti-sex. Because people had cornflakes in the morning instead of having sex. Therefore, all the other fear about sex, except cornflakes, I suggest it's cornflakes.
That was amazing.
It's like watching a Scottish Columbo.
Wasn't it?
We went through each of the facts one by one, then I deduce. It was brilliant.
If you wait long enough in a programme, you get onto your specialist subject.
Sensual potatoes.
Dr. John Harvey Kellogg and his brother Will came up with the cornflake recipe as they believed that plainer foods helped cleanse the body and mind of erotic desires. Though there was an unfortunate misunderstanding early in the marketing process when he asked a designer to put a massive cock on the cereal packet. What was Dr. Kellogg's novel approach to eating yoghurt? Did you hear about that?
No.
He believed that after administering your morning enema, a pint of yoghurt should be consumed half through the mouth and half through the anus. Hence the expression, done on. You're actually right about Ben Fletch as well. He found a sweet potato, the vegetable, so sexy he couldn't bring himself to eat it. What was so sexy about this vegetable?
Boobies? Was it have boobies on it?
No, but according to the Mirror, it bore a striking resemblance to someone with a rather shapely behind bending over. There it is. What did Fletch do with it instead?
Did he give it a good forking?
He told reporters, we threw it away as I didn't want to cook it. Threw it away. It's in his special drawer in his chair. According to The Sun, John Prescott's old government office was destroyed this summer to stop officials being distracted by thoughts of the former deputy PM's romps. But to be honest, the sofa they used was pretty much destroyed at the time. Geminoid F. Now, it's not a sex robot.
No.
I mean, it's just a robot.
Yes. Where's the sex robot coming from?
Yeah.
It was a wild guess. I've got no specialist knowledge of this.
Here she is.
What's meant to be sexy about that?
It's been done.